Well, hello everybody and welcome back to World of Tanks. Today I've got for you a tank review on the BZ-176, the brand new Chinese premium heavy tank. And boy, I have not done one of these in a while. To be fair, I haven't done any post-commentary in a while because, well, time really and how much I've been streaming. If you don't follow my stream, then head over to Twitch TV. There's links bloody everywhere pretty much. Just go over, you'll find a lot more content there. So today I'm doing a review on the BZ-176. This is the brand new Chinese premium heavy tank and a precursor to a tech tree that is supposedly going to be released some point in, I would think, the not too distant future. I would like to think possibly next patch, but who knows. This tank at the moment you're watching this video is available, but only through the Christmas boxes. I have previously done a video on the Christmas boxes on me opening 200 and getting this tank. I actually got this tank in the first box. Please don't take that as an example because your mileage may vary and you'll probably not do the same. With the Christmas boxes, I'll say the same as I said at the start of the video, and I'll say the same as I say every single year. If you want gold, premium time, or aren't specific on which tank you want, the boxes are absolutely worth buying a couple because they are quite good value for money if you don't want anything specific. If you go into it going, I want to get the BZ-176, do not do it. It is a waste of time, waste of money, because you are not guaranteed to get it, and you are just probably going to end up spending more money than this tank is worth. Anyway, jumping in onto the tank. Firstly, in this video, I've got two games for you. We've got this one, which is a tier 10 game, as you can see. And then after that, I've got a dream matchup where I am against some tier 6s. I've played a fair few games in this tank. These are the two ace tankers, and quite nicely as well, they are in one tier 10 game, one tier 6. So, what is this tank? As you can see, this tank is a heavy tank. It has got a brand new feature, which is this rocket boosting feature. So all you do is you press the X key. You can see the little icon just below the reticule here, which that means I've got a fully charged booster. They only take like 5 seconds to charge or something. I can't remember the exact time. And then runs for 10 seconds, and you can use up to 4 of them for the game. This takes your top speed from 30 kilometers an hour forwards and 15 backwards to I think something like 45 or 50 forwards and 1 backwards. When you're running the jet boosters, you cannot go backwards. Also, when you're running the jet boosters, your turning circle is questionable, shall we say. So just that is something to bear in mind. Other than that, like I said, the mobility, you go 30 kilometers an hour forwards, 15 backwards, which is actually outside the jet boosters really, really poor. The armor is average. We'll take a look at it in Tanks GG after the 2 replays, but it's alright, but I'm finding that I'm getting penned quite a lot. I don't know if that's just because people are like, ooh, new tanks, so they're shooting it a lot more, but there you go. Other than that, we have the gun. This thing is a monster of a gun. This actually takes the biscuit as the 3rd highest caliber gun in the game, non-artillery. Only behind the FV215 B183 FE4005, so the 183mm, the British one. Where the hell did that post come from? I did not see that there. And the Jagdpanzer E100's 170mm or 17cm gun. That's obviously on the Jagdpanzer E100. This thing is 160mm. 160mm gun. Like I said, puts it 3rd place in calibers, and that is an interesting feature because this gun gets 2 different rounds. I'm just going to pause the game. Yeah, I'm just going to pause. Can I just say, again, sound design and whoever designed the UI, absolutely lovely. Same with the double barrel tanks. Beautiful. This tank gets 2 different shells. The gun gets 2 different shells, sorry. Standard AP, which has 208mm of penetration, 650 alpha, 860 meters per second shell velocity, and Hesh rounds of 225mm of pen, 800 damage, and 760 meters per second. Now, you've seen during this game me using predominantly AP with a bit of Hesh towards the end on the moisture. Obviously, that is one of the major downsides of this tank, is the fact that it has, at most, only got 225mm of pen. By the way, I don't get anything else on this Type 61. But at most, it has got 225mm of pen. Which means, in these kind of tier 10 games, you are struggling a bit. If you can't get through a tank, you really are going to struggle. Because there's no premium rounds. There's no, oh, I'll just press the gold button. Like, you have got as much pen as a lot of other tier 8 tanks have on their standard rounds on your premium rounds. However, this being said, with the 225 Hesh, I think you can, there are plates you can pen on everything in the game. It's just about maneuvering to be able to do it. You saw me on the Moistion in this game. I was making sure that I had Hesh loaded, and I was getting his absolute flush side. So I was waiting till after he fired, going absolute flush side, and putting it in above his tracks, because I know that section is 225mm, less than 225mm thick. Also, though, the AP is not to be underrated. I have two loadouts on this tank. 20 Hesh, 10 AP, and then the other one is 20 AP, 10 Hesh. The AP is not to be underestimated. Something that I think a lot of people are forgetting with this tank is the closest caliber gun to it is the 155mm guns, but that is only on the T30, the Foch 155, and the Object 2, the T123 and T124. Sorry, not the Object 268. That's a 152. This thing having 160 down at tier 8 in this matchup, maybe not quite as effective, because obviously this is what you do see 155mm guns, but a 160mm gun can overmatch 53mm of armor. At tier 8, and at tier 9, and at tier 7, and definitely at tier 6, there are a lot of 50mm plates and around 50mm plates that you don't care that you've only got 208mm of pen, because you just go through a lot of tanks' roofs, a lot of tanks' decks, there's some side armors on some tanks. So I'd probably recommend, if you get this tank, just start slowly picking up a knowledge base of what has less than 50mm of armor and what plates. For example, this thing itself has less than 50mm of armor on the roof, so it is overmatchable, and you can get used to firing the AP. Anyway, this game, 4,848 damage, 344 assisted, blocked a bit with our armor, and got 1 kill. I will do post-game stats, but just right at the end of the video, so if you don't stick around for that, just a quick overview. Anyway, let's go jump into the second game in this tank. So, second game in, guys, and we have got the absolute dream here. This is the dream matchup for this tank if you want to be farming those small tanks. There were some, I don't know how you would say, choice words on stream and some interesting noises when I saw this matchup. Only 3 tier 8s on each team, 2 of which being very easily pennable, and a lot of tier 6, including 5 tier 6 heavies, which we do like very much. Now, obviously, in this kind of a matchup, I'm now firing more Hesh, because basically everything I'm pen with 225 pen. Again, I was just kind of testing this vehicle out at this point. This Easy 8. Look, you can see me there try to reverse with the jet boosters on, and you really struggle. So what I did here was use 2 of my jet boosters to then be held up by this absolute numpty. Fortunately, he does get out of my way and doesn't really do much else through the rest of the game, so it's not the end of the world. But yeah, this thing's gun. That's what we were talking about. Hesh or AP, like I said, I would recommend that everybody kind of take a bit of both. Other than that, on the gun, as you would probably expect, the stats of it aren't amazing. Stock, your dispersion 0.44, absolutely horrific. Your dispersions and that whilst moving the tank, turning the turret, etc, etc, really poor. Rate of fire, only 2.5 rounds a minute, so your base reload is 24 seconds pretty much, so really, really poor DPM. But I actually think this gun is, again, this is just based on the few games I've played so far, I actually think it's relatively balanced. For the alpha at the tier, the DPM is acceptable. Like, it's really low DPM. If you're comparing it to other things, the DPM is trash. But given the fact that you can take half of somebody's HP away in one shot... sorry, I'm just wincing at that shot because that's really upsetting. Given the fact that you can take half of somebody's HP away in one shot, you shouldn't be firing that quick. You shouldn't be firing that many shells. And that's something that I'm glad they've done to kind of balance the tank. I still do think this tank is a little bit stupid, giving Again, kind of alpha creep, especially at tier 8. I have no idea where that shell went. If someone could please tell me where 225mm of pen bounced off the front of a VK36, please do feel free. But I have no idea. You can see the armor working quite well. Again, we'll come on to the armor later on, but I'm not 100% sure if that's just, you know, first day things. This is literally, I can't remember what time it was, but literally first day that this thing was released, probably only like 2-3 hours after it was released, like during the day. Which was yesterday morning, 1st of December. By the time this video goes out, I'm not really sure. But I'll probably schedule it for the 3rd, thinking now, so 2 days ago. But yeah, so the gun is okay. Obviously, you need to kind of play this tank up close and personal. Now, something that a lot of people were kind of asking me on stream is, when's the best time to use the jet boosters? In this tank, you only have 4. In my opinion, the best and most effective use of the jet boosters is not necessarily when you need the top speed. If you need the top speed to get somewhere quickly, that's great to use them. The most effective use of the jet boosters is when you are going uphill. So the standard power to weight ratio of this tank, the standard power to weight ratio of this tank is 10.51. That's bad. That's really sluggish, really slow. Going up hills, that is shocking. Using the jet boosters, I think it's over 27. So 100%, if you are going uphill, that is a good time to use them. Also, I would pretty much always recommend using one at the start of the game, just to get yourself into position a bit quicker. You have 4. If you use 1, sometimes if you've got a long way to go, you could potentially use 2. Leave 2 for later on in the game. You can use them to help get yourself out of trouble. You can use them like to cross gaps and stuff. You saw me last game when I was in the factory at the centre of Pilsen. I used it to cross that gap as I knew the Malbrecher had fired. I moved, sorry, not the Malbrecher, the Moisture had fired, so I moved across to then be able to engage the Scorpion. Goodbye, Mr. Porlak. You had 2/3 of your HP left, but I don't care. The only thing I would say with the jet boosters, and from experience, is you want to be lined up, ready to go when you use them. Do not try to be at 90 degrees to where you want to go, and then try and use the jet boosters. I'm pretty sure I use one in a minute, just after I do 750 damage to this KV-1S. And then I'm like, team, can you please kill him? Because A, I don't really want to waste a shell, and B, timings. So you see here, this is still me a little bit inexperienced with the boosters. I use them, and this is me turning hard left. Absolutely as hard left as I possibly can. And I still end up crashing into the cliff, which is nuts. I'm trying to push in here. I go for the shot on the move because I know I'm just going to keep driving. Again, bouncing shots. I'm still not sure whether the armor is actually this effective, or if, like I say, it's just like people not knowing where to shoot the tank first day kind of thing. Moving forward, moving forward, moving forward. I'm trying to get into a position here to ram the Super Hellcat. I want to do damage to the SMV, and then do damage to the Super Hellcat. Engage the final jet booster. Coming in towards him, coming in towards him. Got a good angle, and he tracks me. And that's all she wrote, unfortunately. I don't get the last kill. But 5,300 damage is not too shabby whatsoever. 5 kills as well, which is really, really, really nice. But yeah, this tank, it's interesting. I don't think it's going to be ridiculously powerful. I think it's stupid, especially in matchups like this, because obviously you just take away so much HP from people. But then I also, on the other hand, think that people forget that tanks like the ISU and the Borsig are in the game with 750 alpha, so that's not... It's not like this tank's got 1,000 alpha at tier 8. It is less than that. Like, I mean, the Hesh is 800, but it's only 50 higher than that, and obviously it is Hesh, so you do get weird shots. I had a weird shot where I had the flush side of the new M47 Arnie tank, and it didn't pen. I have no idea how it didn't pen, but you know you get weird things with Hesh like that. Yeah, obviously, as well, like, damage over range isn't an issue with the Hesh, and you've got the really nice overmatch on the AP, and the AP is only 650 alpha, which means your DPM with the AP is literally like, I think it's 1600. I've literally got the stats here. With the Hesh, it's around 2000, which is nice. Obviously, the other issue with the Hesh Massive, massive shell cost. If you're penning your shots, you're probably going to be alright, but if you miss too many hash rounds, you are not going to be making credits today, my friend, even with the Christmas bonus as it is at the minute. Right, let's jump into Tanks GG quickly. I will just run you down the stats, compare it to some others very quickly. We'll go through the armor. I'll jump into the garage. I'll talk you through equipment, crew skills, and field mods. And then I'll show you the post-game stats quickly, and then that'll be all she wrote, because it'll probably be approaching a 40-minute video at that point. So, yeah, let's jump into Tanks GG. So, guys, nice and quickly, BZ on the left, VK-75. I tried to go for a couple of higher alpha tanks, and then I've just literally got the Carnarvon. I'm not going to directly compare to the Carnarvon, but just so you can kind of see what that's like, because I think the Carnarvon's a tank that most people have played or know about, so just for frame of reference. So, base DPM on this tank, these are all base values, by the way, is 1,560 with the Hesh. With the AP, sorry, with the Hesh is 1,900. So you can see, I'm going to compare with the AP. You can see that compared to like the Defender and the VK, it's lower. But then obviously you have got the bigger alpha. The VK being because it's, I'm pretty sure, as long as I'm not wrong in saying this, has got the highest, one of the highest alphas on the tier 8 heavy tanks. I was going to compare this thing to the Oho, but I just couldn't bring myself to do it. I just couldn't do it. Just couldn't do it. I couldn't put an Oho in a comparison because, what? Oh, no. Yeah, 208 pen is obviously on the low side, but you do have that overmatch given the fact that it is a 160mm gun, which is a huge overmatch at tier 8, like I said earlier on. Shell velocity, little on the low side, but genuinely not horrific considering the style of gun. Ammo capacity, you get 30 rounds, which is more than enough considering your alpha. If you take a load of Hesh and you're not penning shots, potentially it's going to become an issue, but I don't even know if you can actually fire all of your rounds in the full 15-minute game. No, yeah, you could, but you'd have to be firing pretty much constantly. Gun handling, obviously, absolutely sucks balls. 3.5 seconds aim time, 0.46 dispersion. Like I said, these are base values, so they will be a little bit better than this. Your actual dispersions aren't awful. Like, they're genuinely not too bad. They're kind of like Defender-esque, which is actually alright, other than your turret traverse, which is pretty terrible. Gun elevation, gun depression. Consider this vehicle is a Chinese tank. That's something I didn't speak about in the gameplay. 10 degrees. Really, really nice. The only thing is, gun depression, it does only have 3 degrees over the rear deck of the tank. So just something to be watching out for if you are running away. You don't have a huge amount of gun depression. Forward speed is 30, 15 in reverse, exact same as the VK. You do have a very, very, very underpowered engine though. Look, like only 600 horsepower on a nearly 60-ton tank. Like I said, just over 10 horsepower per ton. Ground resistances are actually really, really good. So that helps a bit. And obviously with the jet boosters as well, you do get that ability to all of a sudden push for like surge forwards, and you can keep up with medium tanks for 10 seconds 4 times a game. So for 40 seconds a game, you are a very mobile tank. Turret traverse 29 degrees a second is actually not too bad, and tank traverse at 29 degrees a second is fine, except from when you're in the jet booster mode, in which case it doesn't work properly and it sucks. Armor we'll come on to in a minute. Health 1550, pretty much center of the ballpark. And view range is 380, which actually isn't terrible. I expected that to be one of the things that this tank had absolutely bugger all of, but it's actually not too bad. Shell cost, definitely something to consider, given that this thing is a premium tank. 1300 on the AP is actually pretty good, considering you're doing 650 alpha. You can make a lot of credits with that, and that's something I'm going to be trying to do over the Christmas period, as I've set myself the goal to have 100 million credits by the end. Hesh, however, big oof, 7,200 credits per shot. So that is definitely something to consider when firing Hesh in this tank. I know some people will be like, well, you can only fire Hesh because it's just better. Trust me, the AP is good. Overmatch as well is really nice. And if you are trying to make credits, saving credits by not firing Hesh is very, very nice as well. Very quickly, jumping into the armor. Like I said, it's better than I thought. I hadn't actually looked at an armor model yet. So absolutely, this tank is better than I thought. If we go on to the live version, so this is firing 208 millimeters of penetration at it. You can see that the whole of the front of the turret is pretty good. It's actually around 300 to 310 millimeters thick, 320 towards the edges the whole way across. So that's actually really, really nice. When using your gun depression, actually a little bit more. So the front of the turret, really, really, really nice. You have got a cupola, which is nice, I suppose, for people who like that thing, to allow non-overpoweredness occurring. But the thing is, obviously, when this tank fires, you know, you know you've got time to push it. Also, something I didn't realise when you use the gun depression, the top of your tank comes up a little bit. And I will talk about that a little bit in just a second. Hull armour, again, actually pretty good if people... you can avoid people shooting you in the very lower plate. This mid plate is... It's 240 millimeters thick armor, and it is angled a little bit, but not a lot. It's pretty much flat. So you've got to think that a lot of people, like, if I compare this to what's a relatively set, let's go Carnarvon again, because sure. So firing standard in the Carnarvon, you know, not going to go through it. If we switch to APCR, instantly it becomes pretty much a 50-50. And obviously, I wouldn't say that Carnarvon APCR is the most amazing shell at tier 8. Like, for example, if you're facing a 122 TM, I know that thing has like 300 heat pen, same as the T77, that's 299. You're just gonna, like, the whole of the front of the hull is pretty weak, but genuinely not actually that bad. Lower plate, like I said, pretty weak. Upper plate is only 100 millimeters thick, but it has got an extreme angle on it. If you are above the tank, then it's definitely something to watch out for. Now, when I've switched to the Carnarvon, you may notice something a little bit different about this tank. And that is that now, the top of the vehicle is only... You can only pen it through the cupolas. And that is because, like I said, this thing overmatches. When you're facing it in itself, you can overmatch the entirety of the roof. 41 millimeters thick, so it's actually a decent overmatch. And this is actually a really, really, really important threshold on the roof of this tank. For anybody who doesn't know, the overmatch mechanic is that if the caliber of the gun is 3 times the the impacted armor that you are hitting, the shell ignores the armor and penetrates anyway. So if we times 41 by 3, as long as my maths doesn't let me down, that is 123 millimeters thick. 123 millimeter caliber gun and higher you will need to go through this thing, which crosses a very, very, very important threshold, and that is the 122 millimeter threshold. We're going to use the 122, just an example here. You can see no overmatch on the roof. If it was a 40 millimeter plate, which is quite common, you would be able to overmatch that, but a 41 millimeter plate, you cannot overmatch with a 122, which means that if we just look, so many tanks are instantly then not able to pen the top of this vehicle. You've got the 112. Does the 50 CP get a 122? Yeah, 50 CP. 53 TP. All of the Russian tanks, pretty much. The IS-2s, the IS-3s, the IS-5s, IS-6s, ISMs, KV-4s, KV-5s. Everything. Defenders, 703s. These now can no longer overmatch just because of 1 millimeter of armor, which is a very, very important threshold. And I think it's something that not a huge amount of people have actually really brought up. The only thing that can actually overmatch is obviously itself. And the only other things you really need to be worried about are the Germans when they are using the 128 or 12.8 centimeter guns, because they will be going straight through your roof as well. But yeah, just something to watch out for. Again, I'm not going to waffle on about it for too much longer, because I am very aware that when I get started with these videos, I do start waffling. Anyway, let's jump into the garage quickly. I'll just go through my recommended equipment setup and the field mods that you should pick on this vehicle. So I'll try and go through this nice and quickly, guys. Equipment quickly. I would also quickly just... I've said quickly about 4 times there. With the crew, you're probably going to want to train a new crew for this tank. Yes, you could use your standard Chinese heavy tank crew if you want to. But I've used a new crew and trained a couple of crew books just to get them up decent. Because obviously there is a new tech tree coming out. So I'm going to be training this crew, and then they will be going into the tier 10 when that comes out. But just for me to get a head start on that. So equipment, gun rammer, obviously you want to try and increase the DPM as much as you possibly can. Turbo, in my opinion, you need a turbo. Some people have said go without a turbo and just focus purely into the gun. You can do that, but obviously having a turbo means that when you're outside the jet boost mode, your horsepower per ton goes up by 1, so to 11, so slightly less shit. And your top speed goes up by 4, so to 34 rather than 30, which again is quite nice. It does actually also increase your horsepower per ton in the special mode as well by 1.9, which is nice. It doesn't, however, affect your reverse speed within the special mode. So the turbo does give you 6 kilometers an hour top speed when boosting, but it does not help your reverse speed, which is still a solid 1. So I would recommend turbo. And then the last slot, I've gone vert stabs. Full disclaimer, within the 2 gameplay videos you saw, I was using rotation rather than vert stabs. But since then, I have switched out to vert stabs. Rotation is not a bad idea, but it's just going a little bit more into the gun is quite nice. Other things you could fit if you really wanted to. Vents is obviously never a shocking option. Aiming if you really wanted to, although the reason I kind of went without aiming on this tank is because aiming does like 0.02, so even with aiming you're still at 0.4 accuracy, which means you're not a sniper anyway, so you need to play around that. So playing around 0.4 accuracy, you may as well play around 0.42, it doesn't really matter that much. Hardening you could use as well. Again, HP, suspension, durability is nice, but I feel like that the traditional rammer stabs turbo is a decent setup. Premium consumable on this tank, I would say no. I've been set on fire quite a lot. Again, premium tank as well, so making credits is actually quite nice. My alternate setup has got a premium consumable, but I have been set on fire a couple of times, so I maybe wouldn't recommend it. Field mods, I'm actually going to do this, only 700. And then you can pick firepower. Ooh, firepower or mobility? No, probably firepower. I'll put the rammer in the firepower slot. Left, right on the on field mods. So all-terrain suspension, maintaining speed when crossing terrain types is nice. Does come at a cost of hull traverse speed, but your hull traverse speed is already pretty poor, so it doesn't really matter too much. Aiming circle, same on pretty much every tank. You want aiming circle over aiming speed pretty much every day of the week. And I've gone for view range because the stun duration for me, it doesn't massively increase your stun duration. You get hit by RT. Okay, if I'm using this, I'm getting hit for stun for 11 seconds rather than 10 seconds or something. But not all games have RT in. So if you take this, you're literally just playing at a disadvantage in probably like 33% of the games you play. Like 1 in 3 games if you play without RT, or 1 in 4 or 1 in 5, whatever. But you're literally playing at a disadvantage. Or you're playing at a disadvantage if RT doesn't even shoot you. So, in my opinion, always go with a view range one. Like, this is just useless. IMO. And yeah, like I said, I'm going to do that before I forget. And you're watching a bit of live adjusting of stuff here. I'd probably go rammer in the improved slot. Just gives you a little bit more DPM. Possibly stabs. And to be honest, the mobility slot for the turbo probably isn't a bad idea as well. I will test that out. Probably not the best time to do it whilst I'm in the middle of the video. But yeah, I don't think it really matters too much. Anyway, I'm going to go over into WOTReplays. I will just go fully through the post-game stats. If you don't want to watch that, don't worry. Thank you for watching. I appreciate it. But yeah, let's go jump into WOTReplays. Okay, guys, really sorry. As it turns out, no post-game stats, because apparently I can't upload replays to WOTReplays. It says unknown file format, which is weird because it's a World of Tanks replay, but there you go. Anyway, you saw how much I did in the game. There was no blind fires or anything. It would just be missing out on the XP. But yeah, thank you all so much for watching. I really appreciate it. If you have enjoyed, give the video a like. If you're new to the channel, subscribe, blah, 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 blah. Other than that, thank you so much for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time.